In a small town surrounded by endless forests and towering mountains, there lived a young boy named Jack. Unlike other children who dreamed of becoming kings, soldiers, or wealthy merchants, Jack dreamed of becoming a legend. He spent his childhood listening to stories of ancient heroes who fought against darkness and protected innocent people. Every night he would sit beside the fireplace, imagining himself standing bravely against evil forces. People laughed at his dreams and called him foolish, but Jack never cared. Deep inside his heart burned a fire that refused to die. As Jack grew older, strange events began to occur around his village. Travelers disappeared on nearby roads, mysterious shadows appeared at night, and terrifying screams echoed from the mountains. Fear spread among the villagers, and many believed an ancient curse had awakened. The village elders warned everyone to stay indoors after sunset, but Jack was curious. He wanted to discover the truth. One cold evening, Jack secretly followed a trail leading into the forest. The moonlight barely pierced the thick trees. Suddenly, he heard a cry for help. Rushing toward the sound, he found an old man surrounded by wolves with glowing red eyes. Without thinking twice, Jack picked up a burning branch and fought the beasts. After a fierce struggle, the wolves fled into the darkness. The old man smiled and revealed that he was not an ordinary traveler. He was Master Orion, one of the last guardians of an ancient order known as the Shadow Keepers. Orion had been searching for a worthy successor and believed Jack possessed extraordinary courage. Bravery is not the absence of fear, Orion told him. It is the power to face fear and continue forward. Jack accepted Orion as his mentor and began years of intense training. He learned swordsmanship, survival, strategy, and the secrets of ancient magic. Every day pushed him beyond his limits. He climbed frozen mountains, crossed raging rivers, and fought Dang. The years after the fall of Malachar were peaceful. Villages were rebuilt, trade routes reopened, and children grew up hearing stories about the hero who had saved the kingdom. Farmers returned to their fields, merchants traveled without fear, and the world slowly forgot the horrors of war. But Jack never forgot. Every night, he dreamed of the dark fortress. He saw shadows moving beneath the ruins. He heard whispers calling his name. At first, he ignored them. They are only dreams, he told himself. Yet the dreams became stronger. One night, Jack awoke suddenly. The room was freezing cold. The candle beside his bed went out by itself. Then he heard a voice. A familiar voice. "You defeated my body, Jack. But darkness never truly dies." Jack jumped from his bed. The room was empty. But on the wooden floor, a strange symbol had appeared. It was the same mark that once belonged to Malachar. Jack's heart began to race. Impossible. The black crown had been destroyed. Malachar had vanished forever. Or so everyone believed. The next morning, Jack saddled his horse and traveled to find his old mentor, Master Orion. The old guardian now lived in a small tower near the northern mountains. When Orion saw the symbol, his face turned pale. "I feared this day would come," he said quietly. Jack frowned. "What are you talking about?" Orion opened an ancient book covered in dust. Inside were drawings of the Black Crown. But there was something Jack had never seen before. 7 black crystals. The crown was not completely destroyed, Orion explained. When Malachar created it, he divided his soul into 7 shadow crystals. Jack stared at the drawings. "If even one crystal survives." Orion nodded. "Malachar can return." Silence filled the room. Jack clenched his fists. "Where are these crystals?" Orion sighed. "Hidden across the world. The desert of bones. The frozen kingdom. The city beneath the sea. The forest of forgotten so." The desert winds howled behind them as Jack, Lena, and Marcus left the ruins of the ancient city. But their victory no longer felt like a victory. They had found the first shadow crystal. Yet they had also lost something far more important. Ilara, their friend, their sister in battle, the one who had stood beside them against Malachar years ago. Now she carried the second shadow crystal, and darkness was slowly taking control of her mind. Jack rode silently. 4 days, he barely spoke. Lena could see the pain in his eyes. Marcus tried to cheer him up, but nothing worked. At night, Jack sat alone staring into the fire. He kept hearing Ilara's voice. "Next time, I won't be able to stop myself." The words haunted him. One evening, Master Orion sent them a magical message. A blue bird made of light appeared in front of Jack. It spoke with Orion's voice. "The second crystal is lost for now. You must find the third crystal. It lies within the frozen kingdom." The bird vanished. Marcus groaned. The frozen kingdom? Why can't evil ever hide somewhere warm? Lena laughed. "You complain too much." Marcus crossed his arms. "And you smile too much." Jack smiled for the first time in days. His friends looked at him. "That's better," Lena said. "We need our leader back." Jack nodded. "Let's go." Weeks later, they reached the northern edge of the world. Towering mountains of ice stretched into the clouds. Snowstorms raged endlessly. The air was so cold that breathing hurt. This was the frozen kingdom of Arvindor. Long ago, it had been a mighty empire. Now, it was abandoned. Or so the legend said. Massive castles made of ice stood silent beneath gray skies. Frozen statues lined the roads. Entire cities remained trapped beneath snow. Marcus shivered. "I hate this place." Lena wrapped herself in fur. "I hate your complaining." Marcus pointed at the sky. "I complain because my beard is freezing." Jack laughed. Even in the victory in the Frozen Kingdom should have been a moment of celebration. Aurora, the guardian dragon, was free. The third shadow crystal had been destroyed. And Jack had finally learned the truth about his past. Yet his heart felt heavier than ever. Because somewhere in the shadows, Ilara was suffering. And Malachar was growing stronger. As dawn rose over the icy mountains, Aurora spread her enormous wings. Sunlight reflected from her crystal-like scales. The once corrupted dragon now looked magnificent. She lowered her head toward Jack. "You saved me," she said softly. Jack smiled. "You would have done the same." Aurora looked into his eyes. "You are much like Arthur." Jack laughed. "Everyone keeps saying that." Aurora shook her head. "No. Arthur was a king. You are something else." "What?" Aurora smiled. "A man who chooses kindness over power." Jack didn't know what to say. Suddenly, a magical bird made of blue light appeared. Master Orion's voice echoed. "Jack, I have found the location of the fourth shadow crystal. It is hidden on the island of storms." Marcus groaned loudly. "Why can't evil hide in a normal place?" Lena laughed. "You ask that every time." Marcus crossed his arms. "And every time I'm disappointed." Even Jack laughed. For a moment, everything felt normal. 3 days later, they reached the Western Sea. Waves crashed against giant cliffs. Dark clouds covered the sky. Far away, a mysterious island floated beneath endless storms. Lightning struck constantly. The sea around it was filled with whirlpools. Marcus stared. "No." Jack looked at him. "No what?" "I'm not going there." Lena smirked. "The mighty Marcus is scared?" Marcus pointed at the sky. "That island is throwing lightning at the ocean." "I'm not scared. I'm reasonable." Jack smiled. "You can stay here." Marcus immediately climbed aboard the ship. "I never said I was staying." The journey was terrible. 4 days, he barely spoke. The image of the giant turning to dust haunted him. Titanus had protected the world for thousands of years. Yet in the end, he died smiling, believing in Jack. That responsibility felt heavier than any sword. The Alliance of Light continued preparing for war. Across the world, soldiers sharpened their weapons. Mages studied forbidden spells. Dragons gathered in the skies. Entire kingdoms united under one banner. But everyone knew one thing. If the last shadow crystal remained, none of it would matter, because as long as the crystal existed, Malachar could never truly die. One evening, Master Orion summoned Jack and his friends to the Grand Hall of Arcanes. The old guardian looked older than before. His hair had become completely white. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. He placed an ancient book on the table. Its pages turned by themselves. Finally, they stopped. A drawing appeared. A black crystal, embedded inside a human heart. The room became silent. Orion spoke quietly. The last shadow crystal is inside Malachar himself. Marcus blinked. Wait. So to destroy the crystal. Ilara lowered her head. You must destroy Malachar. Jack frowned. We already knew that. Orion shook his head. No. You don't understand. He pointed at the book. The crystal isn't just his power. It is his soul. If the crystal breaks. Jack stared at Orion. What happens? Orion hesitated, then answered. Everything connected to it dies. Silence. Ilara slowly stood. Her face became pale. What do you mean? Orion closed his eyes. The shadow crystal controlled you. Ilara froze. It corrupted Aurora. It corrupted Titanus. And he looked at Jack. It corrupted Nightbreaker. Jack's eyes widened. No. Orion nodded sadly. When the last crystal is destroyed, all shadow magic disappears forever. Jack immediately understood. Nightbreaker would disappear. Or black lightning tore through the crimson sky. Mountains cracked. Rivers of fire boiled. And in the center of this dying world, two figures stood facing each other. Jack and Malachar, the hero and the king of darkness. The battle that had been destined for centuries was finally here. Malachar slowly descended from his throne. Dark energy flowed around him like a living storm. The last shadow crystal glowed inside his chest. Its black light pulsed with terrifying power. Jack tightened his grip on Nightbreaker. His heartbeat echoed in his ears. This was it. No armies. No friends. No second chances. Only him. And Malachar. Malachar smiled. You've changed. Jack remained silent. Malachar circled him. You are stronger. Wiser. More dangerous. He stopped. But you still have the same weakness. Jack frowned. What weakness? Malachar's smile widened. You care. Without warning, Malachar attacked. Boom! The ground exploded. Jack barely dodged. Dark spears shot from the earth. Jack rolled aside. Nightbreaker flashed. Clang! The sword shattered the spears. Malachar laughed. Good. He raised his hand. A mountain lifted into the air. Jack's eyes widened. What? Malachar hurled it. Jack sprinted. The mountain crashed behind him. The impact shattered the landscape. Dust filled the sky. Jack jumped. Nightbreaker burned with silver fire. He struck. Malachar blocked effortlessly. The shockwave split the clouds. Jack attacked again. And again. And again. Faster. Stronger. More desperate. But Malachar blocked every strike. He smiled. You cannot defeat me. Jack gritted his teeth. I've heard that before. The battle continued for hours. Darkness and light clashed endlessly. Jack was bleeding. Exhausted. His armor was broken. Malachar looked untouched. The difference in power was overwhelming. Suddenly, Malachar stepped backward. Then snapped his fingers. The world changed. Jack froze. He was no. The shadow realm was dying. Mountains crumbled into darkness. Rivers of fire exploded into the sky. The ground beneath Jack and Malachar shattered into countless pieces. And between them, the last shadow crystal floated in the air. Cracked. Unstable. Pulsing wildly. Every heartbeat made the cracks spread further. Every second brought the end closer. Jack stood exhausted. His armor was destroyed. Blood ran down his face. Nightbreaker trembled in his hands. Across from him, Malachar stared at the crystal with horror. "No," he whispered. "This cannot happen." For the first time in thousands of years, the King of Darkness was afraid. Jack slowly stepped forward. Malachar immediately raised his hand. Dark chains shot from the ground. Jack cut through them. More chains appeared. Nightbreaker shattered them. Malachar roared, "You don't understand. If the crystal breaks, the Shadow Realm dies." Jack nodded. "I know." Malachar pointed at him. "You die too." Jack looked at the crystal, then smiled softly. "Maybe. Far away. In the real world." Ilara suddenly screamed. She fell to her knees. Her heart raced wildly. Tears streamed down her face. Lena ran toward her. "What happened?" Ilara shook her head. "I can feel him." Aurora looked toward the sky. The stars were disappearing. The world itself was shaking. Master Orion's face turned pale. "The Shadow Realm is collapsing." Marcus whispered, "Jack." Back in the Shadow Realm, Malachar attacked desperately. Darkness exploded from his body. The sky shattered. Entire mountains flew toward Jack. Jack destroyed them. One by one, Malachar summoned monsters. Nightbreaker cut them down. Malachar screamed in rage. "Why won't you give up?" Jack smiled weakly. "Because people are waiting for me." Malachar stopped. For a moment, he looked confused. "People?" Jack nodded. "My friends. My family. The world." Malachar laughed bitterly. "I had those." Across the world, people looked toward the sky as the black clouds dissolved into golden light. The endless war, the monsters, the fear that had haunted generations, gone in a single moment. No one understood what had happened. No one knew who survived. Only one thing was certain. The Shadow Realm had vanished forever. And so had Jack. Days passed. Then weeks. The Alliance of Light searched everywhere. Soldiers explored the ruins of ancient battlefields. Dragons flew across continents. Mages opened portals to forgotten dimensions. But there was no sign of Jack. No sign of Malachar. No sign of Nightbreaker. Nothing. The world celebrated peace. But for Jack's friends, there was no celebration. Marcus stopped smiling. Lena rarely spoke. Aurora slept beneath the mountains, mourning the friend who had saved her. And Ilara waited. Every day. At sunrise. At sunset. She stood on the cliffs overlooking the sea. Hoping. Praying. Refusing to believe he was gone. One evening, Marcus found her there. "You should rest," he said. Ilara shook her head. "He promised." Marcus sighed. "People break promises." Ilara smiled sadly. "Not Jack." Marcus looked away. Because he wanted to believe that too. Months passed. Spring became summer. Summer became autumn. Still, no Jack. The world slowly changed. Without darkness, kingdoms flourished. The Alliance of Light remained united. Wars became rare. Trade expanded. Cities grew larger. Children no longer feared monsters beneath their beds. Stories of Jack spread everywhere. People called him the last hero, the light of the world, the man who defeated darkness. Statues were built. Songs were written. Entire festivals were dedicated to him. But Ilara hated them all. Because to everyone else, Jack was a legend. To her, he was just Jack. The idiot who laughed at danger. The man who never gave up. The boy who carried hope wherever he went. 5 years passed. Street. For nearly 20 years, the world knew nothing but peace. Children grew up without fear. Cities became larger and more beautiful. The Alliance of Light remained united. Dragons soared freely across the skies. And everywhere people spoke one name with admiration. Legend Jack. But Jack himself hated the title. "I'm just Jack," he always said. Nobody listened. Jack and Alara lived near the sea in a small house surrounded by flowers. Marcus owned the most famous tavern in the world. Lena trained the next generation of heroes. Aurora watched over the skies. And Master Orion, well, he mostly complained about getting old. Life was peaceful, simple, beautiful. Jack thought his adventures were over. He was wrong. One cold autumn night, Jack awoke suddenly. The room was dark. Too dark. The moonlight had disappeared. The stars were gone. Even the sound of the ocean had vanished. Beside him, Alara sat up. "You feel it too?" Jack nodded. A terrible feeling. Ancient. Hungry. He stepped outside. And froze. The sky was cracked. A giant black crack stretched across the heavens. Lightning flashed inside it. Not normal lightning. Red. Blood red. The entire world shook. Far away, mountains collapsed. The sea rose violently. Animals screamed. Aurora descended from the sky. Her face looked terrified. "I've never felt power like this." Master Orion arrived moments later. The old man looked pale. "No." Jack frowned. "What is it?" Orion whispered. "Him." Deep beneath the ruins of the Shadow Realm, something ancient had awakened. Not darkness. Something worse. Chaos. Long before Malachar. Long before Arthur. Long before dragons. There existed a being known only as Azrael, the first destroyer. A creature born before time itself. Its purpose was simple. Destroy worlds. It didn't hate. It didn't love. It didn't conquer. It simply erased. Entire civilizations vanished because of him. Stars disappeared. The world changed after Jack's death. Not overnight. Not all at once. But slowly, gently, like the sunrise after a long night. The wars ended. The kingdoms remained united. Children grew up learning about courage instead of fear. And every school, every library, every village square carried the same message. Be brave. Be kind. Never give up. People called them Jack's 3 laws. No one knew who invented the name. But everyone followed them. Years became decades. Decades became centuries. The world entered an age of peace unlike anything before. Flying cities floated among the clouds. Dragons and humans lived together. Magic and science advanced side by side. No one feared darkness anymore. Because the heroes of old had ended it. Forever. Or so everyone believed. On a hill overlooking the sea stood Jack's monument. Simple. Beautiful. It was not made of gold. Not decorated with jewels. Just white stone. And engraved upon it were the words, "Here rests Jack. Not the strongest. Not the smartest. Just a man who never gave up." Every year, thousands of people visited. Some left flowers. Some prayed. Some simply sat quietly, hoping that maybe, just maybe, the legend could still hear them. One spring morning, a small boy climbed the hill. He was no older than 10. Messy black hair, bright eyes, and a wooden sword hanging from his belt. His name was Leo. He stood before the monument, crossed his arms, and frowned. "So," he said, "you really saved the world?" Silence. The waves crashed softly below. Leo sighed. "My father says legends aren't real." He kicked a stone. "But I think he's wrong." Still, no answer. Leo smiled. "You know what? I'm going to become a hero too." He raised his wooden sword. "And I'll be even better than you." Suddenly, the wind blew. Warm. Gentle. Leo blinked. For a moment, he thought he heard laughter. A familiar laughter. Happy. Carefree. The boy looked around.